Hi, FlossTube Stitchers. Well, here in Northeast Ohio, it has jumped right from spring into summer this week. We went to my brother's house on Friday night for a family picnic. Both sides of the family were invited because my older niece Kelsey and John and baby June were home for the weekend for a friend's wedding. And Friday night was the only time that we could get everybody together. And because it had been raining earlier in the day, my sister-in-law had set up tables in the garage, and then they had the driveway clear for children's games. And luckily it did stop raining, and so they were able to do all their planned activities. But we had mosquitoes in the garage. Like, I've joked for years that in our area we only have like 5 minutes of spring. Our winter drags on. We've had snow and hail in April, and May is one of those months where you just don't know what each day is going to bring. And it's especially hard for people that like to garden because they don't know when to start and what to put out and if they're going to have to protect anything. And for us, my husband doesn't really flower garden. We've only done that a few times. He's mostly a vegetable gardener, but we do have a bay tree and a rosemary bush that he brings in for the winter and takes out for the summer. And you know, we just don't know when to do it. And is there going to be another cold front coming? And anyway, he said it's supposed to be in the 80s or 90s next week. So apparently it's summer here. Alrighty, my vintage stitch today, I was going to save for freebie February in 2025 because I had listed that this was a free chart that you could get online, and apparently that's no longer true, or my notes were incomplete, because when I went to look for it yesterday, the blog actually says please send a self-addressed stamped envelope to the designer. And that was so many years ago, I'm not sure that she would still honor that, or if she even still lives at that address. But I have the original someplace because this is something that we had as a shop model. In fact, we did it for our honey of a, am I holding that straight? Honey of a stitching bee that we had a number of years ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago here at the shop. It's called Buzzworks, and it's by a company called Busy Creations, Bizzi. And I always liked their things. I don't think this was her full-time job. I think she had other obligations and a family and whatnot, and she didn't design that much. But I have at least one other bee thing on my agenda that I never stitched of hers. And I really want to do it, even though, you know, I can't sell it anymore. I still want to do that one piece. So anyway, I will find the original. I know because I did it for the event that it's probably in a different place than my other free charts, and I know where to look. So I will probably start giving this away in my mail order packages in June. And yeah, if you want this, just let me know and I'll make a note of it and make sure that you get it. So this is called Buzzworks. Really cute, only 3 colors. Okay, and then a new shop model. This is by Puntini, and it's called Craft Supplies and Other Lies I Tell Myself, in parentheses. So cute. Let's see. Sorry about the glare. I don't have anyone here to hold the black foam core overhead so you don't have the glare. But this is another loan from Carol Leonard, and it's going to be a lot of fun to have this on display because it's true. All right. Then for my whips, if you follow me on social media, you already saw this, and I only worked on it for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I posted it for Whip Wednesday. I did not work on it after that, but it's the strawberry from Kathy's The Berry Basket series, hands-on design. And when this came out last year, I said, this is going to be my first strawberry finish. I like the shape. I like the design. I knew I wanted to add more strawberries to my collection. And I'm telling you, I said in my post that it's practically stitching itself. I could not believe how much I got done in 3 nights. So this is what I did. And I do want to point out that the red Smyrna crosses are not graphed that way on her chart. They just show 4 X's. The only Smyrna crosses that she talks about are the ones in the middle of the flowers. And I checked her website, and it's not on her Oops page. I went through her social media postings last year about the time this came out, and I didn't see anybody even talking about it. So I'm not sure if people just figured it out for themselves by looking at the front cover, but I guess my tip would be always take a good look at the front cover if you can, if it's a clear enough photo. Maybe even take a magnifying glass or take a picture of it so that you can blow it up on your phone or other device, and just take a good look at certain aspects of it, because sometimes you just start stitching from the black and white chart and you're not thinking anymore about possibly looking for a mistake. But anyway, I love it. There's only 6 colors, and I think that's part of why it's stitching up so quickly. Also, it's a pretty even design. So once you have, the greenery done, you can just do that on all of them. Once you have one strawberry finished and you know the placement of the next one, you don't even need to look at the chart anymore. So I'm really having a lot of fun with this. I think this probably will be finished by next week, which means I need to start looking at her strawberry finishing tutorial. When I said it was going to be my first strawberry, I wasn't thinking that, of course, I would commit myself to finishing it right away. I think that would be a good plan. I need to be held accountable. So anyway, that's just been really fun. And you know what? I'll just do this now. So the strawberry came out last year, and then the blueberry was also from 2023, maybe later in the summer or early fall. I can't remember. And then the one this year was the blackberry. So you could win your choice of one of those 3 charts by commenting, what is the hardest thing that you ever fully finished yourself? And if you haven't done anything like that, but you framed or whatever, just tell me that you don't do your own finishing. It doesn't matter. I'm just curious as to what kinds of difficult things people have gotten themselves into. I remember years ago, we supported some foreign exchange students that came to our area. They either lived here for the year with a family, or they came for a summer program where they spent a week with a different host family than who they stayed with for the year. And usually we had people from the Midwest and just a little bit into the West who would end up, because of what country they came from, would end up flying home from New York. So we would get those kids. And I can't remember who it was that I gave this to, but I made oh no, you know what? It was somebody who went to Strongsville High School, because I did the logo for the school, or there was somebody whose kids were in school that was a cross-stitch designer for a brief amount of time, and we carried her things, and so I did one of her ornaments, and I put it together just a quickie, stitching and fringing it, and I think I fringed it too close to the stitching, and it started pulling apart. Either that, or I put too much stuffing in it, and I'm like, I'm not redoing this, and I've already trimmed it. I can't do anything about it. But I was really embarrassed that I was a cross-stitch shop owner, and I don't think they care. They probably didn't even keep it for very long. But anyway, I've tried to be better. I've tried to learn more over the time. I'm actually a better cross-stitch stretcher for the frame than I am a finisher, even though I was a seamstress. There seems to be some sort of disconnect between sewing clothing and then making pillows and finishing cross-stitch. I don't know what it is, but I have a fear of finishing. So I'm hoping I can do the strawberry by hand. rather than dragging out the sewing machine, because that'll take forever, because I haven't used my machine in so many years. It probably needs to be, serviced first. Anyway, just let me know. And even if you know if there's a good tutorial for something, I mean, obviously I'm going to go to the designer first, but let me know if there's a good tutorial that you've watched that's helped. Okay, so that was Strawberry. Then I went back to Strawberry Fair by October House Fiber Arts, because I told myself I couldn't start Honey Fair until I had finished this. So I worked on this again. Oops, I forgot that I think my dog needed to go out, and then I just never went back to stitching that night, so I left the needle in the front. Okay, so last week I had added all the yellow and I finished the bird. And this week I started adding the color Holly Berry to the strawberry. So the strawberry is really coming into its own, and I have less than half of it left to do. Then I just have to do the same color goes down in the border, and I have to finish the vine, but I didn't write down what color anchor I was using, and I think I mentioned this last time, that I think I put it away thinking it was a random skein of floss that shouldn't have been in the bag. And now I can't find a green that looks like I've used it amongst my anchor threads. And usually what I do, I don't have a skein of floss here. Usually what I do is pull off the second label. I leave the label on the skein of floss that has the number and the name of the company on it, but I take off the other label. That shows me that I've used some of the floss, so that if I end up with double skeins, or if I have a skein at home and then I find out that a customer needs it and I haven't used it yet, I can bring it back. So that's all, as a shop owner, that's always been my plan, to keep track if I've actually taken any floss off of that skein. I can't find that color green. I looked up what it possibly could be. I narrowed it down to 2 colors. It's a little distracting to see it on top of this fabric, but I've tried to put the stitching right next to the floss card. I narrowed it down and I can't find that color. So this may not be finished by next week because I can't find the stupid vine color. But anyway, it's going pretty quickly. I did I wanted to talk about stretchy fabric for a minute. In my video last year, I said this was a Seraphim color. No, it's really close to something that we had from Seraphim, but when I went back to what I wrote in my social media post last year, I said that it was a discontinued, overdyed Zweigart Lugana. And I'm probably wrong about the fact that it's discontinued, because many of the ones that I thought were discontinued were actually silk weaver colors that are still available from Needleworkers Delight in New Jersey. And I forgot to check. I think this color is called Creekstone. Anyway, it's very stretchy. And because this was a scrap and it wasn't 9 inches, or I think it's just barely, it might be 8.5. It wouldn't stay nice in the Q-snap. So that was not helpful. So to get good tension, especially when you're putting like 6 colors in that small area, what I do is I stretch it myself between, you can't tell, but there's a lot of tension going on in my hand right now. And I hold it and stretch it as if it were in a hoop or a Q-snap. And I also try to use a needle with a bigger eye. So those of you that like 28s, that won't work for this, but a bigger, a needle like a 24 is usually what I use. It has a bigger eye, so it creates more space in the holes that are already filled with floss, so that you can get the next color in there. And that seems to help. But I had a customer a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago, I wish I could remember who it was. I think it was somebody from out of town. If you were one of my out of town guests who says you watch me on FlossTube, tell me it's you in the comments. But she showed me pictures of a thing that a stitching she was working on in hand. And then a similar project, or maybe the same project, different area of the chart maybe, when it was in a hoop, and she showed me, and it was actually very obvious to me as well, not that her stitching wasn't nice in the first picture, but her stitching just looked like, I don't even know how to explain it. It just looked like two different people have stitched it. Like I said, it wasn't bad in the first one. It was, you know, she's a beautiful stitcher, but there was something about the tension that was just super nice when it was in a hoop. And I think with the higher counts of Lugana, the 25 I don't really have a problem with, but the higher counts of Lugana and the ones that are hand dyed that are stretchier, I think it's harder to maintain good tension. Anyway, I was thinking about that as I was stitching it this week, and I'm like, I'm gonna get a cramp in my finger from holding the fabric this way, but I thought it, you know, might make a helpful tip. Okay, those were the two things I worked on that are continuing to be whips. Then I finished Mayflowers from Silver Creek Samplers. This was done on 32 count Lugana in the color Sarah from Grace Notes. And this was a free chart from this year's Freebie February, and it's on Silver Creek Samplers website. Just go to her freebie section. I used all the suggested colors, which were just DMC, and I thought they were lovely. The only thing different I did was I did a Smyrna for the bunny's tail, because I was thinking about putting a little pom-pom or something there, and I'm like, I don't think I have any pom-poms at home. I'm just gonna do the Smyrna cross, but it's just so sweet, and I hope I can find either some scrapbook paper for a backdrop or some fabric that has those color flowers in it to, you know, to tie in. Sometimes it's hard when you stitch on a colored fabric. I remember years ago when we were first starting to custom frame, and when, you know, color was new back then, we basically started with white, antique white, ivory, and raw. And colored fabric was kind of new, and people would go, oh, I'm going to stitch this baby sampler on this, you know, lavender, or I'm going to do this wedding sampler on this pink. Then we would go to frame it and go, oh, well, there's like no mats that match this. It was really kind of crazy. I don't think we have that problem anymore. Well, at least it's not as bad as it was back then. There's way more choices, but I don't want to buy a lot. This is just a little thing. So I'm probably going to go through my scrapbook paper first, because I could always finish this little and then put the paper in the frame. So I'll try that. Then, you know, that wasn't a strawberry or a bee, was it? I said I was going to concentrate on those two themes this month, but my other goal for this year was to really finish things. So I thought I needed to go back and do, you know, some of my freebie Februaries. That happened to be from this year, but I still have some whips from previous years too. Then as I was going through my things, I ran across Spring Smalls, which I believe we still have some of these. I don't think we can still get all 4 seasons of this, but I do still have a collection of these charts. I ordered, you know, larger amounts right before she retired, but you can still get it from 123 Stitch. But anyway, this one I had already finished and framed, and this one is not quite finished yet. I have to do the border at the bottom, and I wanted to press it first because those are big X's over, like, you know, 8 threads or whatever, and I wanted to press the fabric first before I got to that point. But anyway, I had partially finished those two, and I thought, come on, how long is this going to take? What's your problem? Why did you put that aside? So I finished Bunny, and what I had to do, that is not a thread, that's a little dark spot on the fabric. I only had to do the white. Seriously? Why did I put that away? Well, knowing me, I probably found fault with the way the two greens were looking together. I wasn't sure I liked that bright green. But when you hold it back and you look at the whole thing, you know, I think it does add a little spring brightness to the picture. You don't want, all your spring greenery to be drab. But anyway, I mean, that took, you know, part of an evening. Then I did bloom. I'm not quite done. I have 2 buttons to add, 2 little white buttons to add to 2 of the flowers. On this one, I know exactly why I stopped, because I had the house, I had the whole house except for the chimneys, and I had the word bloom, and I had the flowers, not the stems, but the flowers. And I was really having a problem with the way the pink and the red color looked. The pink looks a little brighter and a little more purple than it does in the picture, and it's probably because I did not start stitching it the year the chart came out. It, you know, it was probably a different dye lot, but I just didn't like it. And so I thought I was going to change one or the other. I don't mind the flower color. It's the same color that's in the bunny picture. And when you look, like, I know the bee doesn't go, but when you look at the other 3 pictures, they use similar colors. And I get why she did that, because the designer, you know, probably had them all in a grouping and in a bowl or whatever. I'm not necessarily going to have everything from this chart in the same place. So I thought, I don't have to stick to these colors. I should just, you know, pick what I don't know. I didn't want to take the house out, even though the house is what I didn't like. But so I finished the greenery. The stems and the leaves of the flowers were supposed to be on a darker color. I think this is grasshopper, and those were supposed to be moss. I couldn't find my moss. I found mossy. I found mossy from Classic, and I found moss from General Art, but I couldn't find my moss Weeks Dye Works. I could swear I just had it in my hand like 2 weeks ago. Well, I think I finished something with it, and I think there wasn't much left on the skein, and I think I used it all. I tend to keep the cards to remind myself that I've used it up and I need to get another one. And I must have just recycled the paper tag and forgotten about it. So I couldn't find it. And then I thought, why am I adding another color? Just do the greenery the same as the grass. So I did that. And then the designer had you do 1 long stitch for the entire flower stem. And I'm like, no. No, I'm never going to be able to keep that straight. I don't know if this is going to be framed or made into a pillow or done as a flat fold. I have no idea. I don't know if I'm going to give it to somebody else or try to do it myself. So I didn't want the issue to be the stem not lining up right. So I did long stitches just over 4 threads. And so it's going to stay exactly the way it is. I did it at the same time as I did the flower, so it's all woven, or the leaves, so it's all woven in together. And once I put the chimney on the house, and once I added the rest of the white, I was okay with it. So there was something about the chimneys being done in the same color that helped tie it in, and something about not adding, you know, a 7th color to the design. So I'm okay with it now. So maybe it needed to marinate for a while, and then I needed to not be so picky. So that was my stitching for the week. And I do have plans for this coming week. I have some bee whips that I want to go back to, and I did want to finish the strawberry. So hopefully we'll see some progress by next Sunday. Okay. Oh, I wanted to, before I forget, I wanted to read a comment from last week's video. Oh, first of all, I should say, oh, I don't have it here. What was the, what was the prize from last time? Oh, Stitching with the Housewives, either the word cross stitcher or the word strawberries. And so these were the comments that went along with that video. Actually, Marla A is the winner of that, and I did message her. But this doesn't have to do with trying to win the prize. It has to do with my pictures of Sophie. So this is from Anne Ludzak. My mom's friend Sophie, interesting that it was the same name, came to visit and put her purse on the floor. I found my dog Sam chewing on something. She had taken a $20 bill out of the side purse pocket. Mom was mortified. The rest of us couldn't stop laughing, and my little pickpocket just played Miss Innocent. That is hilarious. And I have heard of dogs eating money. Good thing that's just paper. Anyway, I just thought that was funny. I wanted to read that. Okay, so what's new this week is we got the first two in Amy Brecken's, I'm just calling it Happy Place. Yeah, I think that's what she's calling it. And it's Home is My Happy Place. And so this is the first one, which tells you everything you need, your thread list and how big to cut your fabric and all that. And it includes the center portion. And then the second chart is the one that goes, I kind of wondered why she started with that one. And then I realized because she needed something easy to go with the center block so you would get your placement correct. So those came in, they're going to be $8 each this time for this sal. Usually they're 10, but there's no embellishments this time. So there's a lot going on in the piece. It doesn't need any embellishments. And because of that, you can also stitch it on any count fabric you want. You don't have to stick to what she called for because you need the embellishments to fit a certain space. So you have full reign to do whatever you want with this one. So that's that. And then, yeah, I think I did everything on my list. So I just have a few spring charts that came in, not a whole lot. I think I'm getting 3 autos this next week, and I should have the Atomic Ranch Fabric of the Month. So I'll probably have more to show next week, but I just wanted to show you some spring charts since that's what we're talking about. This is the sheep basket from Tiny Modernist, and I think that's so sweet. I'm thinking that I could do that and just put some bees in the air, or maybe just because it's done on the yellow fabric, it would go with my bees. I think it's just so springy. I'm really into stitching for spring this year. So next year I'll be really excited to put my spring stuff out. Jardin Privé has To Be or Not to Be. I also love this. I always love it when there's a scene in the dress. I love the bees, the flowers, the lettering, but I don't like stitching people. Anybody else feel that way? I just don't like stitching people. But I think if I changed her hair color to something softer, I don't know. I'm not sure. I suppose I could just do this design and just fill in, like make it more of an oval or more of a square. I don't know. But I thought that was cute. All right, and then I may have shown you one of these, but now I have both of them from Leela Studio. Be Your Best Self. This is 11, and I love these two. I love them. And then the other one is Happy Bee Day. I think I may have shown this to you before, but it was on, the other one was on back order. So I like all 4 of these, and I'm sure the color palette is similar. It looks like they're just DMC. So I think those will be really fun. They'll probably be on my list for next year. And then some of the Robin Pickens charts are still out of stock, but I did get in Garden Friends. And you guys, this is just sewn with like long stitches. It says on the back that she sewed it through. There's batting underneath this. I think she said there's batting underneath this and then the fabric, or maybe there's batting underneath. Anyway, it goes through a layer of fabric and batting. Wouldn't that be a quick way to finish something that you don't need a sewing machine for, that anybody can do because you already have the lines of the Aida, even weave, or linen to keep you in place, and you get it, you know, ironed and pin it. And I'm like, I'm definitely going to try that as an easy finish, not a difficult one. But I thought that was really an interesting way to finish something. Then Vintage Charm Pin Keep from Scattered Seed Samplers. I always have a hard time saying her design company name without lisping. And then a new design from Blackbird called A Little Bit of Spring. And this one is 16. So yeah, that's it for this week. And thanks for watching. And remember to let me know your most difficult fully finish. and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.